What if the food in your cart isn't feeding you, but quietly poisoning you? Walmart, the place millions of older Americans trust to stretch every dollar, has now become ground zero for a surge of food. Recalls that sound less like routine mistakes and more like corporate roulette. In just the past 12 months, federal agencies have yanked over 500,000 pounds of contaminated products from Walmart's shelves. Listeria in ready-to-eat meals, E. coli lurking in ground beef, salmonella creeping through cucumbers, even radioactive traces found in imported seafood. How many of those ticking time bombs are still sitting in home freezers, waiting to turn tonight's dinner into tomorrow's hospital bill? And why does the world's largest retailer keep quietly restocking from the same suppliers even after federal warnings? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. In this video, we're pulling back the curtain on Walmart's hidden food safety scandals. And before you shop there again, you need to see what's really crawling behind the price tags. Don't get angry or afraid just yet, because at the end of each section, we'll also reveal the safer brands still worth your trust. Number 1. Listeria Chicken Alfredo Scandal. Before you roll your cart past Walmart's familiar blue price tags and trust that their ready-made meals are your safest bet on a thin budget, you might want to hit the brakes. Because just this summer, federal health officials issued a nationwide recall that ripped the mask off one of Walmart's most popular comfort foods. In mid-June of 2025, market-side chicken fettuccine Alfredo, those creamy microwave-ready trays sold in Walmart's refrigerated aisles, were pulled from shelves after being tied to a sweeping listeria outbreak. This wasn't just a blip on a health report, but a full-blown alarm siren echoing across 13 states, sending 16 people to hospital beds, claiming 3 lives, and even ending a pregnancy. The FDA, CDC, and USDA FSIS confirmed the exact bacterial strain was traced back to Fresh Realm, the behind-the-scenes meal supplier producing these dishes. Yet while lives were slipping away, Walmart quietly tucked the recall into the dark corners of its website, as if burying the news could erase the funerals. Listeria isn't some mild kitchen nuisance. It's the stealth assassin of the food world. It thrives in cold environments, clings to steel like a grudge, and strikes hardest at older Americans whose immune defenses are already worn thin. These recalled meals bore establishment codes ESTP-50784, ESTP-47770, and ESTP-47718, with Best Buy dates stretching through late June. Authorities warned anyone who had purchased them to toss them immediately and sanitize their refrigerators like crime scenes, because one leftover splash of sauce could carry enough bacteria to end a life. But what the public never saw on the recall poster was the industrial decay lurking behind the label. Leaking ceiling pipes dripped onto conveyor belts. Cooling safeguards were skipped as if chill were a suggestion, not a commandment. Workers revealed that cleaning shifts had been slashed from 8 hours down to 2, leaving raw poultry slime soaking into cracked floor tiles for over a year. To pass audits, managers staged fake overnight cleanups before inspectors arrived, then cranked production back up the moment clipboards turned away. That's not an accident, but a choreography, and the dance is choreographed around your life. And Fresh Realm's rap sheet doesn't end with bacteria. The same company has been sued for racial and age discrimination in a case known as Durham vs. Fresh Realm, accused by former staff of retaliation and workplace abuse. Analysts had long flagged its tangled supply chains and sloppy microbial traceability, warning it could stumble into catastrophe. Yet Walmart kept pushing their meals, reportedly pressuring the supplier to stretch Best Buy dates another 10 days, just to avoid throwing out unsold stock, gambling retirees' lives like poker chips at a corporate casino, where the jackpot is your social security check. Meanwhile, those who fell sick were left juggling hospital bills bigger than their monthly income, while Walmart executives got to sleep in Egyptian cotton sheets without so much as a fine or a criminal charge. In Europe, regulators would have slammed factory doors shut and sealed them with iron chains. In America, the FDA handed out a voluntary recall and a wink, and the same meals are now creeping back with shinier packaging, like a wolf in a bow tie. So if you're thinking of trusting that easy dinner label again, maybe pause and consider safer paths. Brands like Amy's Kitchen, Healthy Choice, or Stouffer's have built reputations on tighter food safety oversight. And while no company is perfect, at least they haven't been caught mopping up listeria with marketing spin. Because when you're living on thin margins, the last thing you need is a corporation using your dinner plate as their roulette table. And if Walmart won't protect its own customers, then maybe it's time those customers start protecting themselves. Number 2. Frozen shrimp radiation scandal. Before you toss another budget-friendly bag of seafood into your Walmart cart, you need to hear this, because in August of 2025, the FDA quietly issued an urgent recall that exposed just how close Americans had come to eating radioactive shrimp. Tests at U.S. ports from Los Angeles to Savannah picked up cesium-137, the same isotope left behind by nuclear fallout, inside shipping containers of great value frozen raw shrimp, imported from the Indonesian processor PT Bahari Makmur Sejati, known as BMS Foods. The shipments were supposed to be routine. Instead, they came humming like faint Geiger whispers, with one batch of breaded shrimp testing around 68 becquerels per kilogram. That's below the US, intervention level. But here's the thing, radiation doesn't care about legal thresholds. It stacks in your body over time, quietly planting microscopic time bombs while regulators argue decimal points. Yet Walmart had already spread these 2-pound bags, best by March 15, 2027. Across 13 states from Florida to Ohio, like confetti at a corporate parade. And this wasn't some fluke. The FDA's Import Alert 9951 now detains every BMS shipment at U.S. ports until further notice, because the plant's sanitation protocols were described by whistleblowers as the Wild West with nets. Workers stood ankle-deep in pesticide sludge while supervisors waved Geiger counters around like they were metal detectors on a beach vacation. Industry insiders admitted the shrimp were irradiated to kill bacteria from filthy ponds, yet none of that made it onto the label. Just cheery ocean waves and Walmart's blue smiley face. That smile felt like a cruel joke to the seniors who picked these up, thinking they were making the safe, doctor-approved choice. Low fat, low cholesterol. A little luxury that wouldn't wreck their blood pressure. Instead, they may have been microdosing nuclear fallout with their Friday stir-fry. Imagine trying to stretch your social security check by swapping red meat for seafood, only to find out you've been chewing on the glowing edge of Chernobyl. Great Value's track record makes this scandal even more chilling. This same private label has been linked to salmonella-tainted peanut butter that sickened hundreds, metal fragments in chicken patties, hepatitis A in frozen fruit, and even salmonella-laced macaroni seasoning. Over and over, Walmart's store brand has danced with disaster, then shrugged it off behind corporate walls. This time, their own internal auditors flagged BMS Foods for high contamination risk months before the recall. But Walmart's procurement team allegedly overrode the warnings because the shrimp were the cheapest per pound on the market. It's like buying a used parachute at a yard sale because it's half off. You save a few bucks, but the landing might kill you. While no confirmed radiation poisonings have been reported, dozens of consumers complained of gastrointestinal and neurological symptoms, and leaked emails showed executives fretting not about safety, but about margin erosion if the shrimp were pulled mid-quarter. One former quality manager testified that test results were massaged before shipping approvals, while failed samples were simply thrown away. This wasn't sloppiness. It was food safety theater, a Broadway act for regulators while customers unknowingly played the crash test dummies. And the final insult? Because irradiation isn't outright banned in US shrimp, Walmart wasn't even forced to issue a public recall. Just a voluntary withdrawal, meaning many bags stayed in freezers across the country. Europe would have incinerated them at the docks and blacklisted the plant. America just gave it a polite time out. For older, working-class Americans who trusted Walmart as the anchor of their grocery routine, the scandal felt like discovering the lifeboat had been drilled full of holes on purpose. If you still want shrimp without the side order of radiation, watchdogs point to Wild Planet, Henry and Lisa's Natural Seafood, and Vital Choice. Brands that pay for third-party contamination tests trace every catch and refuse antibiotics or irradiation outright. Yes, they cost a bit more per ounce, but so does chemotherapy. In the end, this wasn't just about shrimp. It was about how cheaply the system values human life, and how quietly it gambles yours. Number 3. Ice cream allergen recall. Before you grab that colorful box of popsicles from Walmart's freezer thinking it's just a harmless little treat, you need to know this. Because in late July of 2025, Tropical Foods issued a sweeping nationwide recall of its Helados Mexico and La Michoacana ice cream products after federal inspectors found a ticking time bomb hidden in plain sight. Undeclared milk allergens. 14 different frozen novelties, many stocked right inside Walmart freezers. were suddenly flagged because they listed cream on the ingredient panel but never disclosed milk under the allergen section as required by law. That single missing word could mean the difference between a happy summer snack and a ride in the back of an ambulance. One consumer has already suffered an allergic reaction, and the best buy dates stretch deep into 2027, meaning these silent landmines are still sitting in freezers across America, waiting. For anyone with milk allergies or severe sensitivities, just one lick could close their throat before they even realize what hit them. And what makes this sting sharper is that this isn't Tropical's first stumble. Only a year earlier, Helados Mexico mini ice cream packs were yanked after the mango flavor tested positive for salmonella. And before that, Tropical was sued in Ferguson versus Tropical Foods for dressing up its paletas with sombreros and authentic Mexican branding, while secretly manufacturing them in a California plant, tricking shoppers into paying premium prices for nostalgia that never crossed the border. The court filings accuse them of misrepresentation, fraud, and consumer deception. Taken together, it paints a disturbing pattern, a company polishing its image with folkloric charm while cutting corners on the most basic duty. Telling customers what's inside their food, like selling a beautifully wrapped gift box that turns out to be full of mousetraps. Walmart's role here makes it worse. These mislabeled treats weren't tucked in some obscure gourmet corner. They were sold under flashing rollback signs in the busiest aisles, right? Alongside school lunch snacks and senior meal staples. For older Americans living on Social Security checks and coupons, Walmart isn't just a store. It's the only place where dessert still fits in the budget. They bought these pops thinking they were safe, but some even believing they were dairy-free, only to discover that Walmart's supply chain oversight was more illusion than safety net. FDA auditors reported allergen control failures at Tropical's facilities so severe that milk proteins were found on supposedly non-dairy production lines, smeared across mixers and conveyor belts like invisible booby traps. One worker even testified that managers told him to just wipe it down between batches to save time, like allergen protocols were optional, something to follow only when convenient, not because lives depend on it. And Walmart's response? A tiny buried PDF labeled Product Quality Notice, quietly posted online like they were fixing a typo instead of preventing anaphylaxis. No front page warning, no urgent alerts, no apology. Just the corporate equivalent of sweeping glass under the rug while barefoot children keep running across the floor. Europe would have forced a full shutdown and third-party audits before these products ever returned to shelves. The US just crossed its fingers and let marketing carry on, as if a cheery cartoon paleta could distract from an ER bill. If your sweet tooth is still calling, but you'd rather not gamble with your airway, consumer watchdogs recommend brands like Alden's Organic, Nadamu, and So Delicious. Companies known for rigorous allergen testing, third-party safety audits, and clear supply chain labeling. They might cost a bit more per pint, yes, but so does an EpiPen, and at least these won't come with a side of adrenaline and hospital gowns. The Helados Mexico and La Michoacana recall wasn't just about mislabeled dessert. It was a wake-up call that in Walmart's world, even joy has a warning label. And when your life-threatening allergy is treated like a scheduling hiccup, you stop being a valued customer and start being expendable inventory. Number 4. Turkey Bacon Listeria Recall. Before you let another pack of Heart Smart turkey bacon slide into your Walmart cart, pause. Because in early July of 2025, the USDA slapped Kraft Heinz with a Class 1 recall, the highest danger level, after lab tests flagged Listeria monocytogenes inside nearly 368,000 pounds of Oscar Mayer original turkey bacon. This wasn't just a dusty memo, it was a flashing red siren. Fully cooked, vacuum-packed bacon, sold in 12-ounce, 36-ounce, and 48-ounce packages with use-by dates from July 18th through September 4th, had already shipped coast to coast, even reaching Hong Kong and the British Virgin Islands. And because it's pre-cooked, many shoppers don't reheat it thoroughly, meaning Listeria can strike straight from the fridge like a silent sniper, especially in older Americans whose immune systems are running on threadbare wires. The FSIE said it plainly. If eaten, this bacon could cause serious illness or death. Yet while government agencies raised alarms, Walmart quietly tucked the recall into a buried product quality notice on its website, as if it were correcting a typo instead of averting funerals. What makes this recall more chilling is that it isn't Kraft Heinz's first dance with disaster. It's just their biggest in years. Back in the day, over 2 million pounds of Oscar Mayer turkey bacon were recalled after spoiling early and sickening customers. Another time, 96,000 pounds of classic wieners had to be pulled because they were actually cheese dogs mislabeled without dairy warnings, putting allergic consumers at risk. And in the background, Kraft Heinz has long been slammed by watchdogs for pumping its meat lines full of sodium, preservatives, and natural label gimmicks while dodging full transparency on additives. Consumer lawsuits have accused the company of marketing some products as clean or healthy, while stuffing them with processed fillers. The pattern is unmistakable. When profit is on the line, Kraft Heinz has a habit of treating compliance like an optional seasoning. This turkey bacon fiasco simply peeled the branding paint off what's been corroding underneath for years. Inside the Newberry, South Carolina plant, workers reportedly begged managers to pause production after swabs came back suspect for listeria, but were told halting the line would destroy yield. One whistleblower described how samples were held back from lab testing during peak production weeks to avoid triggering downtime. Think about that. Playing hide and seek with a pathogen that kills 1 in 5 seniors it infects, just to keep Walmart's supply chain humming. And Walmart, true to form, allegedly pressured suppliers to rush orders before the 4th of July grilling season, accelerating output just as bacterial risk peaked. It's like gunning a car down the highway knowing the brakes are squealing. You might make it, or you might take a few families off the road with you. The betrayal hit hardest for older working-class Americans who saw turkey bacon as their lifeline to affordable, healthier protein. Instead, they brought home what could have been a refrigerated Trojan horse. Even if no deaths have been confirmed yet, the fear is real. Because once listeria enters ready-to-eat meat, it can survive cold storage, spreading across lunch meat drawers like mold on a forgotten loaf of bread. And while Europe would have padlocked the plant and forced independent microbial audits before any product returned to shelves, Walmart just buried the notice and kept the price tag smiling. The world's biggest retailer acted like the risk was theoretical, while the bacteria were anything but. If you still want bacon, without wondering if it's seasoned with negligence, watchdogs point to brands like Applegate Naturals, Welshire Farms, and Neiman Ranch, companies known for third-party pathogen testing, real-time metal and microbial screening, and transparent supply chains. Yes, they cost more per pack, but so does a hospital bed. The Oscar Mayer turkey bacon scandal wasn't just about breakfast meat. It was a blunt reminder that in Walmart's cost-cutting empire, your safety isn't sacred. It's just another line on someone's spreadsheet waiting to be rounded down. Number 5. Broccoli Listeria Recall. Before you toss another guilt-free bag of greens into your Walmart cart thinking you're outsmarting the doctor, listen closely. Because at the tail end of December 2024, the FDA quietly slapped a Class 1 recall, the highest danger tier, on market-side broccoli florets made by Braga Fresh after random sampling found Listeria monocytogenes crawling inside. One single lot. Over 35,000 bags of 12-ounce washed and ready-to-eat broccoli had already been shipped across 20 U.S. states from Alaska to Texas before anyone caught it. And here's the twist that makes it lethal. Many shoppers froze the bags for later, thinking they were preserving safety, but freezing doesn't kill Listeria. It just puts it on ice like a patient assassin. Months later, those same florets are still tucked in home freezers like little green grenades, waiting for someone's grandmother to steam them up with dinner and unknowingly feed a killer. The nightmare is amplified by Braga Fresh's history. A quiet drumbeat of close calls that never made big headlines. In early 2024, their market-side Bacon Ranch Crunch salad kits had to be pulled after cheese inside tested positive for Listeria from another outbreak. Months before that, their salad kits for Wegmans and Whole Foods were recalled for undeclared egg and milk allergens. Labeling lapses so basic they read like satire. Food safety watchdogs have flagged Braga repeatedly for microbial test failures and sloppy allergen control, describing their ready-to-eat produce lines as one random swab away from catastrophe. Yet Walmart kept renewing their contracts, lured by the lowest bid like a moth to a blowtorch, even after federal auditors documented standing water and condensation dripping from overhead structures at their packing sites. Employees testified that weekend deep cleaning shifts were eliminated to cut costs, turning the place into what one worker called a swamp with forklifts. It's the kind of swamp where Listeria doesn't just survive, it sets up a beach chair. The cruelty is that the people hit hardest were the ones trying the hardest to stay healthy. Older Americans scraping by on fixed incomes bought these florets, thinking they were choosing life over hospital bills, tossing them into casseroles and stir-fries with quiet pride. Instead, they ended up playing bacterial roulette. The FDA's Class 1 designation wasn't hyperbole. It meant there was a reasonable probability of death. But Walmart buried the recall like a dirty secret, posting a tiny PDF withdrawal notice on its site, while keeping shelves cheerful and silent. No in-store warnings, no loudspeaker alerts, nothing. It was like watching someone cover up a landmine with a welcome mat, and the betrayal ran deeper. Internal emails leaked during litigation showed Walmart's own food safety division warning procurement months earlier about Braga's ongoing sanitation deficiencies. One executive allegedly replied, "We can't afford to lose volume over a hypothetical." Hypothetical, as if listeria were imaginary, like Bigfoot with a lab coat. A former supervisor said contaminated florets were often rinsed off and rebagged after visible spoilage was spotted, with managers joking, "Listeria dies in the freezer." That line should be engraved on a headstone, because it's scientifically false, and potentially deadly. Meanwhile, Europe would have shut the plant down, fumigated it top to bottom, and barred shipments until it passed third-party pathogen audits. In the US, Walmart just kept the conveyor rolling and hoped the body count stayed hypothetical too. For seniors trying to stay alive on nickels and willpower, this wasn't just a food recall. It was a gut punch. The healthy choice they thought would protect them came laced with invisible scythes. If you want frozen veggies without the hospital risk, watchdogs point to Cascadian Farm, Earthbound Farm, Organic, and Woodstock Foods. Brands that test every batch for listeria through third-party labs and publicly post their results like report cards. They cost more, yes, but not as much as an ICU stay. The Walmart broccoli scandal revealed an ugly truth. Even vegetables can be weaponized when profit outranks people. And once you've seen the mold behind the marketing, it's impossible to believe that green still means clean. Number 6. Cucumber Salmonella Outbreak. They were sold as the safe bet of summer. Crisp, clean cucumber slices sitting neatly in Walmart's market-side trays, promising health on a budget for retirees and working-class shoppers. But in May 2025, the CDC traced a raging Salmonella Montevideo outbreak to those very cucumbers, grown by Bedner growers and distributed by Fresh Start Produce. 69 people across 21 states fell ill, 22 were hospitalized, and Walmart quietly yanked its cucumber slices from Texas stores, with all the urgency of deleting a typo. Investigators found contaminated soil, filthy canal water, and even product samples from a Pennsylvania warehouse carrying the outbreak strain. It wasn't bad luck. It was bad farming. And Walmart knew the risk. Their own audits had flagged Bedner as high microbial risk, but procurement chose them anyway for their cost. Efficiency, like gambling with loaded dice. For older Americans living off Social Security checks, this was more than a stomach bug. It was days of 4 antibiotics, hospital bills they can't pay, and a brutal reminder that Walmart treats foodborne illness like a line item expense. While Europe would have banned the farm, Walmart just relabeled the supply and moved on. If you want safe cucumbers, watchdogs point to Wholesome Harvest, Cal Organic Farms, and Taylor Farms. Brands that test every batch. Because Walmarts didn't just sell cucumbers, they sold Russian roulette with a barcode. Number 7. Beef E. coli recall. It was supposed to be the last safe comfort food, the sizzling ground beef that kept family dinners alive even when paychecks ran dry. But in April 2024, Walmart pulled over 16,000 pounds of Cargill ground beef after tests uncovered E. coli, O157:H7, a deadly strain that can shred kidneys and kill seniors in days. The USDA called it a Class 1 recall, meaning reasonable probability of serious illness or death. Yet Walmart buried the warning like fine print on a coupon. The meat came from Cargill's EST86P plant, where workers reportedly butchered over 400 cattle an hour, while carcasses streaked with feces were surface trimmed and rushed into grinders. One whistleblower said management ordered them to just grind it. Cooking kills everything. A line as wrong as it is lethal. And Cargill's record makes this even more chilling. Lawsuits over price fixing, labor abuse, rainforest destruction, and child labor in its cocoa supply have haunted the company for years, alongside repeated contamination recalls. Walmart knew this history and still pushed them to have delivery windows to cut costs, forcing even faster, filthier processing. Europe would have shut the plant down. Walmart just called it a voluntary withdrawal. If you want safe beef, Watchdogs recommend Grass Run Farms, Organic Prairie, and Meyer Natural Angus, brands that test every batch. Because Walmart didn't just sell ground beef, they sold kidney failure with a smiley face sticker. Before your next grocery run decides your fate, hit subscribe, because the truth they hide might just save your life.
Thank you for watching today's video all the way through. If you found the content helpful, don't forget to click like and subscribe to stay updated to our latest daily videos. Now feel free to check out other featured videos currently shown on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.